to my speech on the effects of video games. Alright, Grand Theft Auto 5 was recently released to the world, and it shattered many media records, not just for video games. It earned over $1 billion in just 3 days. So why is that important, and what does that mean? Well, many people of any gender, race, background play video games. And whether we like to think of it or not, video games affect us in one way or another. And it's important to understand these effects so that we can play video games responsibly. In the next few minutes, I hope to inform you on some of these effects to bring awareness to some of these things so that they don't go unnoticed and we can think about them when we play video games. So the negative effects of video games definitely get more attention. So how many of you can think of a negative effect of video games? Just a show of hands. Okay. As I said, the bad potential is more recognizable, and the physical effects of playing video games is definitely the most obvious. More and more people are playing more and more games for longer amounts of time, and some people create alternate lives online and prefer to spend their time in this virtual reality rather than in the real world. Some people even spend enough time in this alternate reality to make money off of others. So the rise of gameplay has been linked to obesity rates rising, especially in America. Negative mental effects have also been linked to playing video games, especially when they are violent video games. It has long been believed that addiction to such violent games has led to tragedies such as the Columbine shootings and other violent occurrences such as that. Gaming has also been linked to stunted social skills. There are, however, a few potentially good reasons to play video games as well. The good reasons are often overlooked and most people don't even think about them. In his book, Killing Monsters, Why Children Need Fantasy, Superheroes, and Make-Believe Violence, Gerard Jones tells us why kids need to use their imagination and play fight and kill monsters. He argues that it's important for kids to be able to play the hero and be empowered by using their imaginations, and video games allow this. Recent data has also shown that video games can be beneficial in more ways than anybody previously considered. Games, even violent ones, have shown to build confidence, encourage teamwork and cooperation, as well as improve motor skills and multitasking. According to studies by Daphne Bavelier, a professor of brain and cognitive sciences at the University of Rochester, video gamers show real-world improvements on tests of attention, accuracy, vision, and multitasking after playing certain titles. Video games are also being used to train employees in certain industries, and there have even been instances of using even violent shooter games to train military personnel. Some people might argue that that proves the point that violent games breed violent behaviors, but the difference there is context. These military employees, they know the real-world repercussions of what's going to happen, and that they know that this training might lead to have to eventually kill somebody. Whereas kids that are playing games, they don't think about the real-world contexts and applications like that. So there's a difference there. So as you can see, there are several potential effects of playing video games, but that is not necessarily the end of the conversation. There is a growing debate of these effects on people, especially with the tragic shootings and occurrences that happen. Psychologists and other experts are actively trying to research and conduct studies as to these effects, but the data is really hard to interpret. Video games are kind of in a realm all on their own, and so it's really hard to make comparisons to some of the data and research that's being done. So it's just really hard to interpret, and comparisons are hard to make. Also, new uses are being found all the time for applications in different industries and different ways that they can be used to train people, such as flight simulators and things like that. So any research on the effects of gaming can be inconclusive or contradictory, and so responsibility must be placed on the user. We have just looked at several possible effects of playing video games, and I'm sure there are many more out there. Keep in mind that they do affect us in one way or another. So the next time you guys are sitting down to play Mario Kart or GoldenEye, I hope you will think about some of these things that I've talked about and game responsibly.